This is JEO Creations. Hello, this is part 2 of the cartooning exercise. In this lesson, I'm here to talk about final draft in pencil, layout, rough draft, word balloons, and things like that that help make your cartoon unique and distinctive. It can be easily argued that some of the world's very first known art is a form of cartooning. Ancient cave paintings and Egyptian hieroglyphics have been combining words and images for a very long time. This image on the screen, through its 8 separate panels, tells a fairly simple and easily understood story. We have a person walking, discovering something on the ground, picking it up, identifying it as a key, walking up to a door with a key, inserting the key into the lock, turning the lock, and then being attacked by a ferocious animal. These images are very powerful, albeit simplistic. Anyone, regardless of geography, can understand the events that occur within the confines of these panels. That's what makes comics such a potent medium. They're easily understood, universally accepted pictorial stories. The drawback, however, is probably pretty easy to see. While these images may be simplistic, it takes a lot longer to draw out the events of the story of a man walking, discovering a key, picking it up, and so forth. It takes a lot longer to draw that than it does just to write a few sentences. So, as an artist, you have to decide what is most important to help convey the essence of your narrative. If I was to only pick 3 panels from this 8-panel strip and tell the same story, which 3 should I pick? If I was to pause and reflect, I would probably come to this conclusion. The 3 panels I would pick would be 4, 7, and 8. These 3 panels provide the elements necessary for telling our complete story. In the first panel, we are introduced to the person with a key. In the second panel, the conflict is introduced by a person implementing the key into the lock. In the third panel, resolution is applied by the animal attacking the guy with the key. In the previous lesson, I showed you how to create the look of your characters, how to create the supporting characters, as well as design the setting from which your story occurs. I can't emphasize this too much, but be sure before you start working on your final draft Bristol paper, you've sketched out a really rough draft of your story. You can use stick figures with name tags or whatever it takes to help make your story or narrative be more easily understood. After you've sketched out and made sure your rough draft looks functional, start on your Bristol paper. Bristol Cartooning Board has a series of guidelines that help you align the drawing of your boxes. For the purpose of this exercise, draw 3 squares, 2 small and 1 large, to create your panel layout. Refer back to your rough draft and lightly draw in the figures and background so you can figure out how big or small to make everything and where you're going to put it on the layout of the page. If you have a good layout, go ahead and draw in using linear perspective to make sure all the objects in your backgrounds function in a dimensional way. Do this before you do any detail work on anything really, because if you have things out of perspective, you'll have to redraw them anyway. Next, start by lightly drawing in your word balloons, sound effects, and narration boxes. Whenever you have everything in a way that looks functional, clear, and easy to read, then you can move on to your final draft. This is where you put all your detailed pencil marks and make your figures and drawings and environments look really good. All great art comes from humble beginnings. It's really important that you sketch out really crudely at first to make sure everything's functional and easy to read and understand. When you have your art in a place that is ready to go on to a final draft, you'll know it's because you've done a lot of preliminary work to make sure everything is already figured out. Honestly, your final draft is pretty easy. All the thinking is already done. Many people don't know that the hard part of comics is all the early stuff that people don't see, the rough drafts and the planning and the character designs. In closing, I hope you build entire universes of adventure and storytelling that engage your audiences with a lot of fun. Good luck and have a great time. And thanks to Scott McLeod for helping me figure out layouts.